the idea of journaling, keeping a record of my thoughts. But I've often been rather sporadic. I would buy a new notebook and come up with a plan about how I was going to journal every single day. Then after a couple of days, it would start to feel like a chore. I'd miss a day here or there, and then because I hadn't stuck to my perfect plan completely, I would feel like a failure and stop journaling for months. That notebook would just join the pile of other old forgotten notebooks. A couple of years ago, I started to think about why I wanted to journal. And I'm someone who just can't think very clearly in their own head. It's kind of chaotic. Like, I don't have these super crystal clear thoughts. It's more of this jumble of feelings and ideas and opinions all mixed together up in there. It can be really difficult for me to access what I'm thinking, especially if I'm encountering a new situation or idea. When someone asks me what I'm thinking about, often, I don't know, is a really honest answer. Even when I have really strong feelings in my body, it can sometimes be hard for me to recognize them. Sometimes it takes something external for me to realize that I'm feeling angry or scared or embarrassed. Over the years, I've tried a lot of strategies to manage the tangled wires in my mind. The most helpful thing that I've come up with is being able to talk things out loud. Sometimes I don't even really know what I'm thinking until I'm able to say it out loud. I've also found writing to be very helpful. Through writing words down on the paper, I can get out the ideas that I'm thinking. At a minimum, it can help me to discover what I'm really feeling. In 2022, I started to journal using Evernote. And my process here was very simple. I would create a new document, and the title of the document would just be the date that I was writing on. There were no rules about having to write every single day. And there were no rules about what I had to write. I would just start putting words on the document. Sometimes it was everything that happened the previous day or everything that was going to happen in the future, but sometimes it was nothing at all. It was just what was going on in that particular moment. And the beauty of it was there was no attachment. If I didn't write for a couple of days or a week or a month, that wasn't a big deal. But the space was always there for me to come back when I had something I wanted to put to the page. So, the question of digital versus physical. I love physical notebooks. This is one that I got from Amazon for about $8, but beautiful, hardback. It's great. It's got this little strap thingy on it. You can put a pen in here. This pen did not come with a notebook, but you can put a little pen in here. And I take this with me everywhere that I go. I toss this in my backpack. This is on my person at all times. If I come up with an idea while I'm sitting somewhere, I want to be able to open it up and write that idea down. Now, I do think there are some very different things about journaling physically versus journaling digitally. And most of it for me has to come down to access and looking back at things later. Writing by hand is great for connecting with ideas. It is great for pooling one part of something with a part of something else, and you can kind of link things together. The free form of being on a sheet of paper allows for things not to exist linearly, but to exist in 2 dimensions, that you can kind of move through and back and on top and right in the margins. I love that. Typing is really good when I need to get ideas out fast. I can type a lot faster than I can write by hand. So if there's just a flood of ideas in my head and I just need to get them out onto paper, typing is gonna be the way that I do that. When it feels like there's that storm in my head of things that I don't really know what I'm thinking, typing is a great way for me just to kind of flush that all out. I can just start to just put things on paper, and as I type, it'll typically just flow and flow and flow until all of those things, that garble, mess, jumble, chaos in my brain can flood out onto the page. Once I have my ideas out of my head and I'm trying to solve a problem, I'm trying to figure out how they might fit together, working on paper by hand is a great way to do that. Also, if I'm writing something that I want to be able to search later, Putting it in Notion means that I'll be able to globally search it. Whereas if I write it in this notebook, it might just be a scribble in the margin on some page somewhere, and that can easily get lost. But before we move on to the benefits of journaling, I want to tell you guys a cautionary tale about how journaling led me deeply astray. When I was in college, I was in my first real serious committed relationship, and I wanted more than anything just to make it work. I was terrified that we would break up, and I hung on to this relationship so tightly, which ironically was one of the reasons why we did end up breaking up, but that's another story. The whole time we were together, I kept a Google Doc called The Guide to Being a Better Boyfriend. In this doc, I wrote down and analyzed every interaction that she and I had. I overly dissected it down to the smallest detail. And while it was helpful to get all of those ideas out of my head and onto paper, it also served as a transcript of every fight, transgression, and friction point that we had. I would often go back and inadvertently read through old entries, only to find myself getting angry, sad, or upset over incidents that had long since passed. The document serves as a place for me to complain incessantly, which I think in many ways was very helpful, but the dark side of that was my ability to go back and read all of the lengthy complaints that I had typed up at 2 in the morning. Having it all in one long doc where I could go back and read it was not helpful. Part of the point of journaling is to let things go, but this served as a constant reminder. So I learned a couple of lessons from this experience. Number one, old journal entries aren't really meant to be read. Certainly not by anyone else, but in many ways, not even by me, at least not shortly afterwards. And number two, simply journaling, writing things out, does not solve a larger conflict that I'm experiencing. If I have a problem with another person, I can't simply write my way out of it. I have to go and talk to them. Ultimately, that relationship ended, and I ended up deleting that Google Doc. I'm very glad that I don't have it anymore. It was a necessary stage in my life, to be sure, but the way I went about it just simply didn't work. I found myself just using it as an outlet to complain, to overanalyze, to dig into the weeds on things that didn't need to be dug into the weeds on. So let's talk about what journaling has taught me. Journaling has given me the space to express and explore my thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment. Like, not even my own. I very rarely go back and read journal entries, and if I do, it's really just to pull out a piece of information. For the most part, it is just an outlet for me to let out all of that stuff that I feel inside. In a strange way, it's also helped me to think a lot more clearly. When I'm forced to write things out, I have to actually articulate what it is that I'm feeling or thinking. That doesn't mean at all that it doesn't contradict itself. One paragraph might say one thing and the next paragraph might say something that seems completely different. And maybe it's the case that I'm feeling both of those things at the same time, and that's part of the reason why I'm feeling stressed or upset or confused. But having to write things out in full sentences with detail and explaining and giving examples has actually allowed that chaotic part of my brain to calm down a little bit. So I'm pretty sure that writing has actually made me a more clear thinker, which is crazy. And finally, it's allowed me to feel things I didn't know that I was feeling. So much of the time I'm realizing I don't know what I am feeling. Oftentimes, I'll start writing and I'll realize, oh, hold on a second, I'm really angry right now, or I'm really sad at the moment. And instead of passing judgment on that, or even instead of passing any kind of intellectual, like, let me try to figure out why I'm feeling sad or angry, like, who cares? Let me just write out what I'm feeling. Let me just put it out there on paper and allow myself to experience the fullness of that emotion in this moment. It's been really rewarding to be able to write those things out and simply connect more deeply with knowing what I'm feeling. So if you've been thinking about journaling, I recommend giving it a shot. Notion is free. You can get that notebook that I had from Amazon for like $7. Maybe you just have some paper and a pen lying around your house, or just open up a Google Doc. I realized while working on this video, I have journal entries from after almost every single one of me and my wife's first dates. Like, that's so cool. What was I thinking about? What was I feeling? What did I know about her? What did I not know about her? Like, I have all of that recorded. So I don't know about you, but at least for me, there's immense value in terms of getting things out of my head and onto paper. I'm certainly someone who can't think quite as clearly up here, and once I have it written out, it's just a world of difference. If you have any journaling tips or suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.